March 20th, 2026, Leonid Redvinsky, the de facto owner of OnlyFans, passed away after a long battle with cancer. This reminds us of another great American entrepreneur, Steve Jobs, one of the co-founders of Apple, who also went after a long battle with pancreatic cancer. Fate is like a chance encounter. Who knows whether this life will bring boundless wealth or desolate poverty? In this ever-changing life, who has ever broken free from the shackles of fate? Leonid Redvinsky was born in Odessa. During the Russia-Ukraine war, Odessa has continued to face Russian airstrikes targeting energy and transportation infrastructure. As of March 2025, this war has resulted in over 400,000 to 600,000 deaths. When including the wounded and missing, the total number of casualties may be approaching 2 million. The Russia-Ukraine war, which began on February 24, 2022, still has no signs of ending. Life is so precious, yet in the face of human cruelty, it is as fragile as flowers.
Liberty and love. These two I must have. For my love, I will sacrifice my life. For liberty, I will sacrifice my love.
Sándor Petőfi was a renowned Hungarian national poet. In this poem, he powerfully expresses his yearning for liberty. In his view, the pursuit of liberty was far more precious than life itself. Ideals are lofty, but reality is harsh. In reality, this was certainly not the choice of the majority, nor was it Petőfi's ultimate practical choice. Sándor Petőfi wrote this poem in January 1847, on the eve of the 1848 Hungarian movement for national independence. His poem, The National Song, had a profound influence on that movement. Which comes first, liberty or life? Before answering this question, it is necessary to review the history of the Hungarian independence movement briefly.
In April 1848, following the establishment of democratic constitutional states in France, 1791, and Belgium, 1831, the Kingdom of Hungary became the third country on the European continent to adopt a parliamentary, democratic electoral law through Act 5 of 1848. At that time, the Kingdom of Hungary was a semi-independent kingdom under the rule of the Habsburg monarchy, with the Austrian emperor also serving as King of Hungary. Act 5 of 1848 is also known as the April Laws. The new legislation transformed the Kingdom of Hungary into a democracy and abolished all powers of the Hungarian nobility. The act specifically stipulated that the Hungarian government would adopt a responsible cabinet system and that all government decrees would be valid only if signed by a Hungarian minister. This meant that Austrian officials in Vienna lost the power to control Hungary's internal affairs. To suppress the Hungarian Revolution, Emperor Ferdinand I of Austria secretly supported the Serbs, Croats, and Romanians, who were unwilling to be ruled by Hungary, in launching an armed rebellion. On September 11, 1848, Josip Jelačić, the Austrian-appointed governor of Croatia, led his troops across the Drava River, the border between the two countries. This regular army, numbering approximately 35,000 to 40,000 troops, set its sights on the Hungarian capital of Buda in Pest. The newly formed Hungarian government did not have a regular standing army. The National Guard, formed on an ad hoc basis under the April Act, consisted primarily of urban residents and property-owning farmers. They lacked training and were established primarily to maintain domestic order and defend the Constitution. To counter the Croatian offensive, the Hungarian government appointed professional officer János Moga to lead approximately 17,000 to 20,000 members of the National Guard and volunteers in fighting the Croatian forces. Facing a superior enemy force, Janos Moga organized defensive positions in the hilly terrain between Pakost and Lovospereni, northeast of Lake Balaton. On September 28th, Josip Jelačić commanded his forces to complete the encirclement of the Hungarian army, with the aim of driving the Hungarians into Lake Valence and annihilating them. At 6 a.m. on September 29th, the Croatian army launched its attack. Josip Jelačić personally led Schmidl's division and cavalry toward Martonvasar, attacking the center of the Hungarian defenses. Between approximately 9:30 and 10:30 a.m., the Croatian forces first engaged the Hungarian army's right flank, but were quickly suppressed by Hungarian artillery fire. When Josip Jelačić attacked the Hungarian center, he likewise came under heavy artillery fire from the Hungarian army. Although the Hungarians were outnumbered, their artillery was clearly superior to Josip Jelačić's forces, and in open-field combat, the Hungarians' precise artillery fire proved decisive. Before the battle, the Hungarian hussars, who had originally been loyal to the Habsburg monarchy, staged a massive, collective mutiny and returned to their homeland following the outbreak of the revolution. In mid-19th century Europe, it was widely believed that in terms of individual combat prowess and tactical proficiency, the Hungarian hussars were the strongest light cavalry in Europe. They were not only the pride of Hungary, but also the gold standard for light cavalry across all of Europe. This regular cavalry unit, numbering about 1,000 men, demonstrated remarkable resolve alongside the volunteers. Not only did they repel the Croatian army's charges on multiple occasions, but they also launched a counterattack at one point, driving some Croatian forces back to Patka and coming within a hair's breadth of forcing the Croatians into the lake. The fighting continued until around 3 p.m., when Josip Jelačić ordered his troops to halt their advance. The next day, September 30th, Josip Jelačić proposed a 3-day ceasefire to Hungary. In reality, however, he had already lost the will to fight. Instead of returning to Croatia during the 3-day ceasefire, Josip Jelačić led his troops westward toward Vienna to seek the direct protection of the Austrian imperial court. This battle, known as the Battle of Pakost, was the first decisive engagement following the outbreak of the Hungarian War of Independence of 1848 to 1849. September 29th was later designated as Hungary's National Defense Day. Until 1991, it was changed to May 21st to commemorate another decisive victory in the Hungarian War of Independence, the recapture of the capital, Buda, during the Battle of Buda. Following their victory, the Hungarian forces launched a pursuit and crossed the Leitha River, the traditional border between the Kingdom of Hungary and Austria. Their objective was to relieve the Vienna insurgents, who were under siege by Austrian troops. However, in the ensuing Battle of Schwechat, they were defeated by an Austrian force of approximately 30,000 to 40,000 men, commanded by Alfred Candidas Ferdinand, Prince of Windischgratz, and Josip Jelačić. Following the defeat, Janos Moga resigned in disgrace. Artur Gurgay, a young commander who had distinguished himself during the retreat, took command of the army. Because Ferdinand I suffered from epilepsy and had intellectual disabilities, he was unable to effectively resolve the crisis. Under intense pressure from members of the Austrian royal family, particularly his mother, Princess Sophie of Bavaria, he abdicated on December 2, 1848, passing the throne to his 18-year-old nephew, Franz Joseph, who became Emperor of Austria and King of Hungary as Franz Joseph I. Franz Joseph I, aged just 18, ascended the throne on December 2nd. He then appointed Alfred Candidas Ferdinand, Prince of Windischgratz, to lead a massive army of approximately 55,000 to 90,000 men, which invaded Hungary from multiple directions in mid-December. The new commander-in-chief of the Hungarian army, Artur Görgey, knew that the young Hungarian forces could not withstand the Austrian regular army's offensive in open terrain. So he opted for a proactive strategic retreat rather than a passive defensive stance. The Hungarian revolutionary government, led by Lajos Kossuth, relocated to Debrecen in the east. On January 5, 1849, Austrian forces occupied the twin cities of Buda and Pest in Hungary without major combat. The proud Austrians could never have imagined that the Hungarians would pull off such an astonishing feat. As the famous line from the Apple ad, "To the crazy ones," co-created by Steve Jobs, goes,
"Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do."
Whether it was the political leader Lajos Kossuth, the military strategist Artur Görgey, or even Sándor Petőfi, who wielded poetry like a dagger, they were all visionaries bestowed upon Hungary by their era. Under Kossuth's almost frenzied political mobilization, Hungary established an efficient conscription system. By the spring of 1849, troop strength had rapidly expanded from fewer than 30,000 at the Battle of Schwekat to approximately 150,000 to 170,000. At the same time, Hungary established its own gunpowder and cannon foundries in and around Debrecen, solving the supply challenges posed by the arms embargo. In early 1849, through a highly risky winter march, Artur Görgey lured the main Austrian forces into a circular maneuver in the mountainous regions of the north, primarily in Upper Hungary and what is now Slovakia. This caused the Austrians to miss a decisive opportunity to concentrate their forces and attack the seat of the Hungarian government. While executing his brilliant strategic maneuvers and guerrilla tactics, he also reorganized the loosely structured National Guard into a regular army known as the Honvedseg. By adopting strict Prussian-style training methods, he ushered in a new era of tactical modernization for the Hungarian military. In March 1849, behind the Tisza River, Artur Görgey secretly gathered together the scattered Hungarian forces. In April 1849, the Hungarian army launched a sudden attack from east to west and, in the space of just 1 week, shattered the Austrian lines with 3 brilliant victories. First, on April 2nd, Hungarian vanguard forces defeated the Austrians at the Battle of Hatvan. Just 2 days later, on April 4th, they routed the Austrian army's flank at the Battle of Tapio-Bitska. The climax of the entire offensive occurred on April 6th at the Battle of Isazeg, where Artur Görgey led his forces to a decisive victory over the Austrian main force just outside Budapest, forcing Wendisch Gretz to retreat to Buda. Encouraged by this victory, Lajos Kossuth formally declared Hungary's independence from Austria on April 14th. On May 21, 1849, after a fierce siege, Artur Görgey led the Hungarian army in recapturing the capital, Buda. Austria's crushing defeat left Franz Joseph, Emperor of Austria, at a loss. With no other options left, he had no choice but to appeal to the Russian Tsar for help. Would Hungary's fate ultimately be decided by free men, or would the executioner's blade seal it?
Would Hungary's fate ultimately be decided by free men, or would the executioner's blade seal it? Please follow me and subscribe to my channel. Feel free to share my articles. We'll reveal the answer in the next section.